Welcome to Academic Writing Part 2. This session is going to be dealing with Turabian formatting. So once again, we're in my China homework back from 2008, and I wanted to point out to you some of the rules that are very important for you to remember as you are writing your paper. What I'm going to do is bring you to the student handbook. You can find the handbook if you go on to BGU's website. Here's our website. Go to Current Student, Resources, go to Forms and Documents, and if you click on that, you'll see a list, and at the bottom of the list is the student handbook. So right here is the student handbook on our website, kept updated, and has all the information that I'm going to go over with you right now. Now the student handbook, just to briefly walk you through it, this document has a lot of information that you are going to need in doing your program at Baki Graduate University. Talks about common writing mistakes, punctuation, some research tips, a little bit about book reports, your journal, things that we've gone over in some of the other tutorials, but just so that you know, you've got a written list right here. What we're going to focus on are the quick reference for Turabian in this document. So let's scroll down to our Turabian summary. So your quick reference for Turabian, what I've done is I've listed those elements of Turabian that are the most glaring if you do them incorrectly. The first difference between Turabian and a regular document is that the margins are very important. Your left margin must always be 1.5 inches, and the remainder of the margins need to be 1 inch around your paper. So you'll see in my paper, that's how it appears. I've got a 1.5 inch margin here and a 1 inch margin on the side, the right side, the top, and the bottom. Okay? The second thing is that everything should be double spaced except for your block quotes, which are single spaced. Now, of course, this is a Turabian rule. We do have our rule about writing your book reports, that those are to be single spaced also. But basically in Turabian, the only time you have single spacing is when you have a block quote. The third item is the first line of your paragraphs should either be 0.25 or 1/2 inch, and then your block quotes and footnotes are indented at the same point. So you'll notice, now see, I did this incorrectly. The block quote should be lined up, same with the indent of my paragraph, and my footnote should also be in line so that they're all at the same indentation. I prefer 1/2 inch. I think it helps to set off those quotes a little bit more easily than a 0.25, but it's up to you. That is okay to go either way. The next rule is that all lists should be numbered, not bullets. And I don't know if I've got any lists in here to show you, but if I were to include a list, the list is different than the other formatting. So if we had one, I'm just going to put in a list right here, list number 1, 2, list number 2, 3, list number 3. Okay, let's say I've got my list. Now the way that we're going to format that is you would block your list, and the way that you're going to format it is drag your margins in so that it's in line with your paragraph, but then drag this one out too. And then your formatting, go to Home, go to your paragraph formatting. Your left margin you'll see is 0.25. It's a hanging indent by 25. You're going to have this be single spaced, and after it's going to be 12 points. Okay? So if I had kept type, just so that we can show you, you'll see how that goes. So let's add some little spaces in here. Sorry about that. So you see how it's a hanging indent. The numbers are out at 0.25, and the text itself is single spaced and indented up by that half-inch margin. So hopefully that makes sense to you. The next item is that the first line of the footnotes also needs to be indented identical to the paragraphs in your body. So just as I pointed out, if you had decided that you wanted to have this half-inch indent, the 0.25, then your footnote would also need to be 0.25. The font size is to be 12 point throughout, not 14 for your headings. And then the footnotes are all 10 points. So you'll see that the body is 12 point, the footnotes are 10 points. Okay? The common capitalization errors, these are the correct ways. The Bible is always capitalized. Biblical is not capitalized unless it's the first word in a sentence. Scripture, if you're referring to the Bible, is capitalized, not capitalized if it's not referring to the Bible. Scriptural is not capitalized. When you're referencing God, you use the lowercase, but we do give grace to those of you who either are strongly opposed to not capitalizing he, him, or his when referring to God, to be able to capitalize that if you prefer. The church, if used in reference to the whole church, is capitalized. And if you're talking about church like the neighborhood church, it would not be capitalized. Also, it would be capitalized if it was in the proper name of a church. Like if you were saying the community church of Bellevue, you would capitalize community and church. Number 8, do not put an extra space between paragraphs except just before a new heading. Now, what I have noticed is that when I'm grading papers, I will see that there will be an extra space in here. And the way that you correct that is you're going into your paragraph formatting. And generally the error is that you have either before or after, you'll have a little 6 points or 12 points, something like that. And what that does is see how it puts that little extra space. That is not acceptable. So you need to make sure that you go in, if you notice that, and reduce that down to 0. If it's in a large portion, you're going to have to block like this and then change the formatting on that. Okay? One-sentence paragraphs are not acceptable. In other words, if you're in your document and you have just one sentence, you need to include it in either the paragraph before or the paragraph after. Use block quotes, single-spaced and block indent, when the quote is more than 4 lines. This is very important, that when your quote is longer than 4 lines, it needs to be block indented. Do not use quotation marks around a block quote. So I'm going to go to one of my block quotes. Let's see if I can find one. Here's one. Now this one's 4 lines. Technically it could be up in the regular part of the text. But again, it would be indented the same as my indentation of my paragraph, single-spaced and no quotation marks. And then here's my footnote, and then quoted down here. Okay? When quoting scripture, you can punctuate and reference as follows. So I've quoted John 3:16, and what I've done is I have the end quote. Let's make this just a little bit bigger so you can see the punctuation here. As you can see, I've quoted everlasting life. There's no punctuation following life. There's my end quote. And then you use a parenthetical reference to the scripture. And the use of 2 or 3 abbreviations for the books of the Bible is fine. Just need to be consistent throughout your document. So you can either spell it out, do just 2 numbers without a, or 2 letters without a period, or you could do the period, and that's fine as long as you're doing that throughout the document. And then your period or your punctuation comes after the parenthetical scripture reference. Okay? When you're referencing scripture, use 2 or 3 letters only, and whether you use a period or not, be consistent, just like what I just said. Footnotes begin with 1 with each new chapter. Now let's go into my document, and you'll see at the beginning of my chapter 3, which is my project, let's get to my first quote, and it's incorrect. You see that? Now I want to show you how to correct this. So first thing you're going to check, go into Reveal Codes and make sure that before you've started your chapter you have a section break next page, not a just a next page break, but a section break. This is very important. And the way that you change that is go into page layout. When you go into your breaks, you're going to see that you have an option down here under section breaks to put in next page. So that's what you want. And then you're going to go into your references and you're going to format your footnotes. So you hit this down arrow here and you see where it says footnotes, numbering continuous. This is what you need to change. This needs to stay restart each section. Okay? And you want to apply that to the whole document. And apply. And now we'll go down and you'll notice that my first footnote in chapter 3 is a number 1. If I take that Reveal Codes off, you can see it a little more clearly. So there you go. So that's how you do it. Now this formatting, by the way, is incorrect. When we did this in 2008, we did not have EndNote, the EndNote program, which you now get for free as a student of BGU. So be sure you get that program because it'll make formatting of your footnotes and your bibliography that much easier. When referencing a year, it should be like this, 1960s, not like this with the apostrophe, okay? When you're referencing a percentage, you would do 9%. You do the 9 in the numerical and write out percent, not like this, not using the percentage. When you're doing numbers, I notice that this isn't in the list, but all numbers in Turabian should be written out up to 99. So if I had referenced a number in here, but in China, 99 people would be wrong. Instead, I would need to write this out to 99 people. However, that's not true if you're writing in millions. So if we had 9 million people, we would write 9 million people. So we are using the numeric when we're spelling out the word for the number. Okay, hope that makes sense. Then anything over 99, so in other words 100 and above, you can use the numerics. Okay? The following samples are for footnoting these various types of book, a website, second occurrence, one source quoted within another. So these are just samples. Now remember, this is on our website under the BGU website, and I see now I've got problems in here, so I'm going to fix those so that hopefully when you get into the the website it's going to be correct, our student handbook. So that's the student handbook, referencing Kindles, different things like that. And then here's also a quick reference for EndNote. Gives you how to upload the program, how to make the changes that are in another tutorial that I've done, but here you have the written. So hopefully that will help you.